Thanks for tuning in to Unbreakable with ChrisChamasiros. I talk about politics, sports, and entertainment to keep you well-rounded what's going on around the world. If you don't like hearing the truth, definitely don't tune into this channel. So let's get started today. So Hunter Biden, he talks about immigration. And I really hope every Hispanic person in America watches this video because this is what he thinks about illegal Hispanics. See, I love when Democrats open their mouths because the more they talk, the more that you could tell they're full of shit and racist to their core. Let's jump into the video and we'll go from there.
I guess be like all these Democrats say, you have to talk about and realize that people are really upset about illegal immigration. Fuck you. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you got food on your fucking table? Who do you think washes your dishes? Who do you think does your fucking garden? Who do you think is here by the fucking sheer fucking just grit and will that they figured out a way to get here because they thought that they could give themselves and their family a better chance. And he's somehow convinced all of us that these people are the fucking criminals?
So that's what he thinks. He thinks illegals should be able to come here because they're only good to wash your clothes, put your food on the table, do jobs that nobody else wants. He doesn't want them to get an education. He doesn't want them to become doctors or lawyers. They're just here to be Hunter Biden, the drug addict, the cocaine addict, the guy that sleeps with his dead brother's wife. They're here to be his personal slaves. And this is how him, his family, and the Democratic Party really feel about illegals. See, they only want illegals in the country for one reason, because they want to give them everything, and then they have a voting base that always votes Democrat. And I wouldn't expect any pushback from this interviewer at all. He just sits there like a lump on a log for 3 hours. Let's watch Hunter Biden go into a full-blown rant and meltdown over George Clooney telling his father that he doesn't want him to run for president. George Clooney and the rest of the Democratic Party and the crime machine, they knew that they couldn't have COVID in their back pocket again to influence the election. And they know that Joe Biden would absolutely have no chance of beating President Trump because he's a corrupt, perverted vegetable. So let's jump into the video.
But him, and everybody around him. I don't have to be nice. George Clooney is not a actor. He is a I don't know.
Just like your dad's not a politician, he's a crook and a criminal.
What he is. He's a brand. You. What do you have to do with anything? Why do I have to listen to you? What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his life to the service of this?
Yeah, for 52 years, the Biden crime family enriched themselves by being corrupt politicians in the United States of America. They didn't serve the people here. They didn't serve the citizens of America.
This country and decide that you, George Clooney, are going to take out basically a full-page ad in the New York Times to undermine the president at a time in which, by the way, what do people care about the most? Why do you think that the Republicans have an advantage over us? Because they're unified. They will go along with anything. I wasn't asking anybody to go along with anything. I was asking people to go along with this. The most successful administration in my lifetime.
See, that's another Democratic lie. President Trump ran on policy. The border, inflation, crime, policy. That's what President Trump ran on, and that's why he won. He didn't win because Republicans were unified. The American public believed President Trump about the policies that he was going to implement to make America great again. So Hunter Biden, the walking scumbucket, the drug addict, the man that sleeps with his dead brother's wife, he comes back from probably a cocaine-fueled binge to give a very interesting interview. Let's jump into the video and I'll go from there.
For some reason, the intelligentsia of the Democratic Party, with 2020 hindsight, believes that Joe Biden should have considered not running again because of their perception that he was too old. And so then the drumbeat began. And the New York Post wrote, the New York Times, on a near daily basis, egged on by the Pod Save America saviors.
He's probably high right now. He's just how come Democrats never use all you hear from Democrats is white privilege, white privilege, white privilege. But when Joe Biden was president, you notice they never used the term white privilege ever. That's because Hunter Biden is the epitome of what, if there is such a thing, white privilege, that's what Hunter Biden is.
Of the Democratic Party, with what, four white millionaires that are dining out on their association with Barack Obama from 16 years ago, living in Beverly fucking Hills, telling the rest of the world what black voters in South Carolina really want, or what the women in the waitress living outside of Green Bay, Wisconsin really believes. I mean, what the fuck? I mean, I can't believe that we do this over and over again.
Yeah.
Or I hear Rahm Emanuel is going to run for president. What a fucking, like, David Axelrod's going to run his campaign for him. That's like, oh.
He looks like he smells like cigarettes, body odor, and booze with a little probably heroin sweat mixed in there somewhere.
Boy, there's the answer. There's the fucking answer. Genius is all. You know, all of the things that they want. You remember this, is that everybody talks about Joe Biden now as if he was somehow the choice of the Democratic Party. Bullshit. We lost Iowa. We lost New Hampshire. We came in second in Nevada. David Plouffe and David Axelrod went on TV. They said that there's no way Joe Biden can get the nomination, not a chance in the world. Mike Bloomberg is going to crush him in California. Elizabeth Warren's going to beat him in Massachusetts. There's going to get wiped out in Texas. He doesn't have the money to run. A lot of rural voters said, fuck you, we love Joe. A lot of urban voters said, fuck you, we love Joe. And they voted for him overwhelmingly.
No, Hunter, that's not what happened. Nobody loves your father. He couldn't even fill a McDonald's parking lot when he ran for president. Ballot harvesting and cheating and election fraud is what won your father, the lowlife, Sleepy Joe, president of the United States of America. He's just a delusional drug addict. That's just a total piece of trash.
And not only that, everybody said, well, he'll never be able to beat Trump. And then they said, well, he'll never bring us out of COVID. And then he said he'll never be able to pass bipartisan legislation, and he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, and he's living in a different generation, and he's living in a past time, and over again. David Axelrod would go on and say, you know, the thing about the president is that he is just a man who time has passed by, and he doesn't understand Congress. We passed bipartisan legislation more than any presidents in Lyndon B. Johnson, and who had a super...
You didn't pass anything, Hunter. You were doing cocaine. You were selling access to your father to the highest bidder. You were sex trafficking prostitutes. You weren't paying your taxes. You should be in prison. That's where you should be, with your father.
Supermajority in both the House and the Senate with Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. And who did that? That didn't happen by magic. That didn't happen in the Obama administration. That happened because Joe Biden got on the phone with Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer and the rest of the party and Republicans in the party, and he passed a fucking bill because Mitch McConnell didn't stand in the way like he did to every other president other than Joe Biden. And he got it done. He did it. Him alone. And then they said...
Really, Hunter, is that why your father was allowing the most evil woman on the planet, Jill Biden? I refuse to call her a doctor because she got her doctor's license from a Cracker Jack box, or the other assistants who were running the country while your father was in the basement by noon, shitting in his pants with ice cream running down his shirt?
Well, look, it's all going to come down to this State of the Union speech. It's going to come down to the State of the Union speech. That was it. And he knocks it out of the park.
And it was that one debate that caused the full backslide.
Yeah, man. And I'll tell you what, I know exactly what happened in that debate. He flew around the world, basically, in the mileage that he could have flown around the world 3 times.
Yeah.
He's 81 years old. He's tired as shit. They give him Ambien to be able to sleep. He gets up on the stage, and he looks like he's a deer in the headlights. And it feeds into every fucking story that anybody wants to tell. And
well, what's your excuse with that look on your face? I mean, you're like, what, 50? You look 85, but hey, that's what cocaine for breakfast, lunch, and dinner will do to you.
Jake Tapper with literally how many anonymous sources. If this was a conspiracy, Andrew, you know this, somehow the entirety of a White House in which you literally living on top of each other has kept their mouth shut about, you know, like what? And what's the conspiracy?
Yeah.
That Joe Biden got old? Yeah, he got old. He got old before our eyes. The people that came out against him were who? Nobody. Except Speaker, Pelosi, Speaker Emeritus Pelosi, did not give a full-throated endorsement, which allowed everybody else to kind of go, okay, except who came out full-throated? Progressives, AOC, Bernie, the entire progressive ring, Ro Khanna, the entirety of the progressive side of the Democratic Party said Joe Biden has got more of our agenda accomplished in 4 years than any president in history.
What agenda was that? Open border, highest inflation ever, crime through the roof, terrorists, illegals, and gangbangers coming across the border by the hundreds of thousands. That agenda? Yeah, wonderful agenda for America.
Largest investment into climate change in history. Just that alone, okay? And so he gets over the hump. He goes and does a Stephanopoulos. Everybody's okay. That's not enough. We got to see him give a press conference. For what? You remember that? It was about a 2-hour-long press conference, and he gave a tour de force around the world history lesson about the existence of NATO, Russian aggression, and Ukraine. They said, okay, well, wait. He's got to go give a speech in. He's going to speak to the NAACP because the NAACP and the Hispanic Caucus and the Black Caucus said, if you fuck over Joe, don't count on us. Because you know what they're doing? They're trying to take South Carolina away as the first primary state. The first time in history that the heart and soul of the Democratic Party gets to have its voice heard first after 50 years of Iowa and New Hampshire with 3% black population states.
I thought it was less.
Less than that.
New Hampshire's got to be closer to 1.
Closer to 1.
I saw a few blacks.
Finally, and you know what? You know what you have? You have the Pod Save America motherfuckers saying, I don't think South Carolina,
You know what's funny, Hunter? How come the guy interviewing you doesn't ask no pushback? Hunter, I have a question. Why did your father used to ride around on the back of a parade float with the leader of the Ku Klux Klan? But this is what you get. When you have this type of interviewer, look at the way he's dressed, number one. I don't care how popular he is on YouTube. He just sits there like a lump on a log, and he lets Hunter do a filibuster of nothing but lies.
Was only there because of Joe Biden, and Joe Biden would get, and that's what he did to save his own self. Why should South Carolina have the? What the fuck? I mean, are they out of their fucking minds?
I wouldn't expect anything different from this delusional drug addict with no class, again, who sleeps with his dead brother's wife, is a sexual deviant. How come the interviewer didn't ask Hunter Biden why he tape records his father's conversations, whether it's on the phone, whether they're talking in person? He videotapes and records phone calls and in live conversations. And you know why that is? Because if Hunter Biden ever gets arrested, he's such a low-life dirtbag that he would rat on his own father. And I wouldn't expect anything less. Hunter Biden, he never disappoints. Yeah, your father was doing a great job of destroying the country. He doesn't even know his name, where to stand. He shits in his pants. But according to Hunter, Joe's doing a great job. And Hunter Biden wants you to believe that his father could have ran the country for another 4 years. I always say liberalism is a mental disorder.